Well, hello and welcome to our program tonight. It is always so good to have you with us. I noticed last week several of you are paying attention to how many we have in the chat room every week. When you are live streaming, there's 2 or 3 metrics that they go by. They go by what's called concurrent viewers, and that's the number that you see under your screen that tells you how many you're viewing. But they show me what's called I think it's called a replay or something like that. But what that is how many viewers that enter and leave or are in a different place in the video, and not concurrent. Concurrents are where we're all at the same place pretty much at the same time. And then of course there's the replays after the show is finished, and but the number that you see is the one where we're all watching at the same time. And I think what I'm going to start doing, since some of you seem interested in that, just like we used to have a Sunday school report or an attendance report, I'll start telling you every week what our top number was the week before. Last week we had 131 concurrent viewers, and somebody correctly stated that our record was 147. That is correct. But anyway, I'll start telling you that every week. I mean, I'm glad you're interested in that. And again, if you have friends that don't know about us yet, invite them to, send them a link and invite them to come in and be with us. But anyway, I just thought I would mention that to you. And I hope everybody's safe and well, and I hope you had a great week. And I know you came to hear music, so let's just get on with the musical portion of our program. I'm going to start tonight off with a song that is on my first album, my How Beautiful Heaven Must Be album, or CD. And I was just feeling the call to do gospel music. I had been about 10 years fighting this thing, and it must have been about 1996. And it was just time. I just needed to try to do some gospel music. And a friend of ours had been playing Walmarts, of all things. I mean, you just wouldn't think, But anyway, my wife can sell anything to about anybody. And so she had been telling me she could be my manager and she could take care of my booking and all that. And so I thought, okay, now's the time. Let's see what we can do. So I said, I had been recutting those first songs I had cut for Mom and Daddy about 10 years before, 96. Not quite 10 years, but it'd been a while. And for whatever reason, I had better equipment, and I wanted to turn that into an album. So I wanted to do it the best I could do it. And I needed 2 songs. I was all but done. I said, baby, book me in a Walmart and let's see what happens. So we made up some cassettes and put the picture on it and did all that kind of stuff. But like I said, I needed 2 more songs. And I was having throat problems, of all things. I had a cold and was just about to the end of the cold. I couldn't record during that time. I was really getting antsy now. Because I knew it was fixing to happen, and I wanted to get that album finished so I could get out there and get started. But anyway, my granny liked How Beautiful Heaven Must Be. And that may well be why I titled my first album How Beautiful Heaven Must Be. So I picked that as one of the songs. But I also picked Just Over in the Glory Land because my parents liked that one and she liked it too. And so I got the song done and we put the album out and we played our first Walmart in Dublin, Georgia. But nonetheless, we got started, and the Heaven album was the very first album. It's the one that it got us out on the road and got us to doing stuff. So for our first song tonight, I'm going to do my version of Just Over in the Glory Land.
I've a home prepared where the saints abide, just over in the glory land. And I long to be by my Savior's side, just over in the glory land. Just over in the glory land, I'll join, yes, join the happy angel band, just over in the glory there to sing God's praise and His glory share, just over in the glory land. Just over in the glory land, I'll join, yes, join the happy angel band. Just over in the glory land, just over in the glory land, there with, yes, with the mighty host I'll stand. Just over in the glory land. That happy throng I will shout and sing, just over in the glory land. Glad hosannas to Christ the Lord and King, just over in the glory land. Just over in the glory land, I'll join, yes, join the happy angel band. Just over in the glory land, just over in the glory land, there with, yes, with the mighty host I'll stand. Just over in the glory land, just over in the glory land, I'll join, yes, join the happy angel band. Just over in the glory land, just over in the glory land, there with, yes, with the mighty host I'll stand. Just over in the glory land, just over in the glory land, just over in the glory land.
Austin Miles wrote a song in 1912 that, although it got a lot of criticism for being a sort of weak-kneed gospel song, it has become one that has just been a huge favorite. And the reason it got criticism is because there's some things in there that may or may not be truly biblical. But what you have to understand is writers use metaphors. They use... It's not truly Jesus did it. Jesus taught in parables. So sometimes we take things and we depict things of a higher nature, and it might not be a true depiction, but it's just there to inspire us and make us feel better and things like that. But it was published in over 230 hymnals. Chuck Wagon Gang did a version. Johnny Cash did a version. Elvis did a version. Rosemary Clooney did a version. Willie Nelson did a version. I could probably name you another, no telling how many people have done this song. But we're going to do our version for you tonight, and it's called In the Garden.
I come to the garden alone, while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses. Walks with me and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other of his voice is so sweet, the birds hush their singing, and the melody that he gave to me within my heart is ringing. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. I'd stay in the garden with him, though the night around me is falling, but he bids me go through the voice of woe. His voice to me is calling, and he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known.
We're going to continue on with a song tonight that was written by James Milton Black in 1893. James, in his life, he was a preacher, and he would always go out and visit people, and he would talk to people on the street and what have you. And one day he met this little girl named Bessie, and she was just a young thing, teenager. And she was down and despondent and depressed because she came from a bad background and what have you. But he invited her to church, and she started coming to church. And she was there a good bit of the time. But one night he was calling the roll, and he called her name, and no one answered. And it set him to thinking about what it would be like to be in heaven and your name's called and you're not there. So he inadvertently, though, he found out that she had been sick with pneumonia, and that's the reason she was out. So he went to visit her, and sadly enough, she passed away from the pneumonia. But he went home and wrote this song, "When the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there." And they sung it at her funeral. But anyway, I'm going to do our version for you tonight. It's called, "When the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there."
When the trumpet of the Lord shall sound, and time shall be no more, and the morning breaks eternal, bright and fair, when the saved of earth shall gather over on the other shore, and the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. When the roll is called up yonder, 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 I'll be there. On that bright and cloudless morning, when the dead in Christ shall rise, and the glory of his resurrection share, when his chosen ones shall gather to their home beyond the skies, and the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. When the roll is called up yonder, when the roll is called up yonder, when the roll is called up yonder, when the roll is Master from the dawn till setting sun. Let us talk of all His wondrous love and care. Then when all of life is over and our work on earth is done, and the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. When the roll is called up yonder, 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 I'll be there. When the roll is called up yonder, 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 I'll be there. When the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. Oh, when the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there.
I haven't been philosophizing much lately because we added a couple of songs to the mix in the last 2 or 3 months, and that made the program a little longer. So I didn't know if you'd want to hear me go on about this or that or not. But tonight I had something interesting, actually it was wonderful, that happened this week. I know better than to comment on political posts because I know that's divisive, and I try not to. But now and then somebody will say something that I agree with or whatever, and I'll make a comment. And I won't even get into what the statement was or anything, but I agreed with somebody on a comment, and a lady came back, and she obviously was on the opposite side of the aisle. Nothing wrong with that. We all have our right to our opinions. You know, we all come by our information however we do. We all operate on different sets of information. And so we agree on 90% of everything. If we just sit down and have a cup of coffee, we just sometimes see a different path to get there. But anyway, we made a comment or two back and two, but then all of a sudden, and I don't even remember how the turn took place, I found out that she had been a missionary for 25 years, and she found out that I was a gospel singer. Well, here we are on the opposite sides of the aisle, but both of us working toward a goal of spreading the love of Jesus. All of a sudden, the love of Jesus took over, and we became friends. And I invited her to come and see the program, and she said she would. And I guess what I'm trying to say is the love of God can heal the divide. It might be the only chance we have, you know. And we all perceive of God in our own way. Once again, it's the set of information that we have been given to work off of. And all of us are not given the same set of information. We live in different places. We study different books. We have different parents. I mean, you see what I'm saying? So anyway, because of that, you're seeing me with my glasses on because I want to read some to you, and I can't read without my glasses. And I don't want to misquote this, you know. But listen to this. The 4th chapter of John, the 7th and 8th verse. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God. And whoever loves. Now listen to this now. Listen to this. It doesn't put any qualifications on this. It doesn't say you got to be a certain color. You don't have to be a certain race. You don't have to be a certain... This is controversial for some of you. You don't have to have a certain religion. It does not say anything about what religion you have to come from. It says whoever loves has been born of God and knows God. I'm just saying. I just want you to think about that. You don't have to agree with it. It is the Bible. You don't have to agree with it if you don't want to, but it is the Bible. 4th chapter of John, 7 and 8. Whoever loves has been born of God and knows God. God understands. I tried to explain this in another of our Friday night thing. I was raised by a Baptist preacher, and I read the Bible all my life. So I'm steeped in scripture that comes from the Bible. I don't know the Quran. I was not raised on the Quran, but there are people who were raised in that way. God, as long as they have love in their heart, they know God. Did you realize, think about this. Allah is the God of Abraham. Ishmael is the one that they were descended through. Isaac is the one that Christians were descended through. Abraham, we call Abraham's God Yahweh. Do you think Abraham had more than one God? No, he did not. He had one God. So we're worshiping the same entity. We just have a different set of information that was given to us to get us there. Now, I wish we were all Christians. I'm first to say that because we'd all be playing from the same book. We'd be playing from the same. But even that, we got 200 different denominations in the Christian faith because we can't agree on what the same book says. We all read the Bible, but we all come away with a little bit different take. So we all go and form our own little groups. I wish we get over that. You think when we get to heaven, they're going to have a pew for the Baptists and a pew for the Methodists? No. We're going to have to learn to get along, you know. I think we will be more equipped when we get there to be able to understand. You know, we'll understand it better by and by as the song goes. But anyway, all I'm wanting you to do is just think open-mindedly and realize we're all children of God. Now, He doesn't always like just like you may have a child that's disobedient. You may not like what he does, but he's still your child. You're still going to love him, you know, or her. And that's all I'm trying to say. You know, my whole purpose is to try to unify us. And love is the only unifying factor we have. Other than hate. Hate is strong too. But ask yourself, which is the best? Would you rather have everybody loving each other and being driven by that? Or would you rather have everybody hating each other, being driven by that? And we got a lot of that driving us these days. But anyway, all I'm trying to do is just say, think in terms of loving people. Love them because they are human beings. Don't try to make them fit in your box. Your box is your box. My box is my box. We have to learn to respect that. That's all I'm saying, you know. And if what I'm saying might be a little controversial, I have to accept that. But it's on my heart that I needed to say that. But anyway, I met a brand new Christian sister last week because we disagreed on politics. Because the love of God entered that conversation. And that's really all I'm trying to say. You know, every week I try to leave asking you to be kind to everybody. And I think that's one reason we have such a great chat room. We all do. In our chat room, I believe we all do love each other. And I think we all do. We don't care about race or where they're from or what religion they are. You know, we're just people. And we're all praying for each other and hugging each other. And I appreciate that. It's the joy of my life to see that happening. But anyway, that's all I got to say. And I'm glad I said it. And so now let's get back to the musical portion of our program. For our next song tonight, I'm going to do you a song that's taken from my Turn Your Radio On album. I had gotten to my third album and I was looking for songs to do, and I realized I had not done this song. It's the most popular gospel song of all time, so I had to do a version of it. But anyway, a guy named John Newton, who was born in 1725, wrote this song. He wrote it in 1772, but it was actually not published until 1779. And like so many songs that were written back then, he wrote the poem or the lyrics, and they used other tunes, other people's tunes. There was a lot of standard tunes that they would be in certain meters, and as long as you knew what the meter of your poem was, you could fit it to those different tunes. So there was about 20 different tunes that it was sung to until 1835, and a guy named William Walker wrote the music or put the music to it that we know today. But anyway, John Newton was he was quite a character. He was born into a family. His mother was a devout Christian, but the rest of his family not so much. But sadly, his mother died when he was about 7 years old, and of course, when he gained a new stepmother, and she wasn't very religious, so he just sort of grew up being a ruffian, and he fell in love with a lady named Mary, and her nickname was Polly, and I believe her last name was Catlett. I'm not sure about that, but I think it was Catlett. Nonetheless, anyway, they called her Polly. He fell in love with her, and he was about 19 years old, and he was going to see her one night, and they had these gangs that would fall upon you and actually capture you and put you on a ship and kind of force you into laboring on that ship, you know, and the conditions, they had to find people like this because the conditions were not very good. Food wasn't very good, you know. But anyway, he lived the life of a sailor. The first couple of years, he was more or less indentured, or whatever you call it, when they captured you like that. But he worked his way up eventually to being a captain. And I believe it was on the second ship that he was on. He wasn't a captain yet, but it turned out to be a slave ship. And so he worked in the slave trade for a while, but he eventually became captain of a slave ship. But in 1746, he was on one of his journeys, so to speak, and they ran into a storm that really was life-threatening. One of the sailors was actually washed overboard, and they went through a harrowing night. And of course, that set him to thinking. You know, he had always been just a foul-mouthed guy. In fact, one of the captains said he was one of the most foul-mouthed guys he'd ever seen. That's saying a lot, being on a sailor ship, you know. But anyway, so he was a pretty raucous character, for lack of a better way of putting it. But anyway, after this storm, he began to think about what was going on. You know, what am I doing? You know, his conversion was not immediate, but it took a couple of years, and he was still in love with Polly. You know, he really wanted to marry Polly. So he went back home after he escaped this particular journey, and told her parents that he really wanted to marry her. And they were a little, you know, they weren't really looking forward to having this guy in the family, but they did see he was in the process of changing his language. He cleaned up his language pretty good, and said he didn't give up all of his vices right at first, but he cleaned up his language. And anyway, he and Polly got married in 1750. Well, he had about 5 more years at sea, but he was starting to really. I personally know what it's like to be in one area of labor. You know, I was doing secular music, but toward the end there, I was really being convicted, and I really wanted to play gospel music. And so I think he was his heart was starting to change during that period of time. But in 1755, he had some kind of collapse. I don't know if it was a stroke or a mild heart attack, or there was some kind of thing. Anyway, it made it where he could never go to sea again. He was only 30 years old. That's how much he had done in that first 11 years. But anyway, so he and Polly settled down, and people just started seeing goodness in him. You know, he started to be a better and better person. And so several clerics mentioned that he should start studying to be a pastor, which he did. And he eventually got a small church to start with, but then he wound up in a church in London. And in 1772 is when he wrote this song, and got it published in 1779. And you can just imagine, by 1772, you know, he had had plenty of time to think about the grace of God, and how if God had not been looking after him, he may have died in that storm that night. Anyway, just all of this stuff goes through his mind, and he began to realize God's grace is truly amazing. So he writes this song called Amazing Grace, and the rest is history. Right now, I want to do an information update. When I recorded the segments for Amazing Grace, at that point, I had not had the opportunity to get my younger brother Mick up to do his, he played the dobro part on that particular song. And so, since I recorded this segment, which you just saw part of, he's had a chance to come up, and we've recorded him doing several of the songs that he helped me with back in the early days. And so we're going to feature Mick tonight on the intro, playing dobro on Amazing Grace.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Was grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace hath brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. We've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun.
This next song that we're going to do for you tonight was written by George Bernard. He wrote it between 1912 and 1913, and it was published in 1915. And this just went on to be, I don't even know how many people have recorded this song, and it's been in hundreds of hymnals. Brad Paisley did a version of the song. Andy Griffith did a version of the song. Chet Atkins did a version of the song. Anne Murray did a version of the song. It's been done by so many people. It's just one of the staples of the gospel music world. And we're going to do our version of it tonight for you. It's called The Old Rugged Cross.
Stood an old rugged cross, the emblem of suffering and shame. And I love that old cross, where the dearest and best for a world of lost sinners was slain. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross. till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. Oh, that old rugged cross, so despised by the world, has a wondrous attraction for me. For the dear Lamb of God left His glory above to bear it to dark Calvary. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. In that old rugged cross, stained with blood so divine, a wondrous beauty I see. For 'twas on that old cross Jesus suffered and died to pardon and sanctify me. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. To the old rugged cross I will ever be true, its shame and reproach gladly bear. Then He'll call me someday to my home far away, where His glory forever I'll share. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. I'll exchange it someday for a crown.
For our next song tonight, I'm going to do you a song from my Turn Your Radio On album. And it was written by a man named William Golden in 1918. It's been published in over 40 hymnals, and many people have done a version of this song. Jim Reeves, the Statler Brothers, the Stanleys. Several people have recorded this song. It's one of those rare songs that the title is nowhere in the song. I need to update you on a couple of things here. When we did when we filmed the talking parts for A Beautiful Life, my brother had not had time to come up and do his dobro parts for me so he could be on screen with me. So I made a couple of temporary videos that was able to get around him not being on the video. But since then, he's had an opportunity to come up and record his parts on things. So we're going to feature him tonight, my brother Mick, doing the dobro on A Beautiful Life.
Each day I'll do a golden deed by helping those who are in need. My life on earth is but a span, and so I'll do the best I can. Life's evening sun is sinking low, a few more days, and I must go, to meet the deed that I have done, where there will be no setting sun. To be a child of God each day, my light must shine along the way. I'll sing His praise while ages roll, and strive to help some troubled soul. Life's evening sun is sinking low, a few more days, and I must go, to meet the deed that I have done, where there will be no setting sun. The only life that will endure is one that's kind and good and pure. And so for God I'll take my stand. Each day I'll lend a helping hand. Life's evening sun is sinking low, a few more days, and I must go, to meet the deed that I have done, where there will be no setting sun. I'll help someone in time of need, and journey on with rapid speed. I'll help the sick and poor and weak, and words of kindness to them speak. Life's evening sun is sinking low, a few more days, and I must go, to meet the deed that I have done, where there will be no setting sun. Life's evening sun is sinking low, a few more days, and I must go, to meet the deed that I have done, where there will be no setting sun, where there will be no setting sun.
Right now, I just want to remind you about our website, www.birdyeomans.com. All my CDs are there. My double CDs are there. My songbook's there. There's a couple of specials that we have there. And just want to invite you to come by and take a look at it. If you have any questions, my wife Linda will be glad to help you. Her email address is linda@birdyeomans.com. And thank you so much for being a part of our program. And now we're just going to get you back to the musical portion of the show. Well, it's come time for our last song this evening. I'm going to wind up the program with a song that was written by Eliza Hewitt and Emily Wilson back in 1898. I was looking for songs for my first album. I didn't know it was going to be my first album at the time, but I was just looking for songs that would be my mom's favorite or my dad's favorite or my granny's favorite They were all still with us then. They've all passed on since then because that was several years ago. But anyway, this was one of the songs that I just remembered growing up singing and that I knew they would love. So I'm going to do it for you tonight. Everybody get out your instruments and play along and warm up your vocal cords, and let's sing this last song together. When we all get to heaven.
Sing the wondrous love of Jesus. Sing His mercy and His grace. In the mansions bright and blessed, He'll prepare for us a place. When we all get to heaven, what a day of rejoicing that will be. When we all see Jesus, we'll sing and shout the victory. While we walk the pilgrim pathway, clouds will overspread the sky. But when traveling days are over, not a shadow, not a sigh. When we all get to heaven, what a day of rejoicing that will be. When we all see Jesus, we'll sing and shout the victory. Let us then be true and faithful, trusting, serving every day. Just one glimpse of Him in glory will the toils of life repay. When we all get to heaven, what a day of rejoicing that will be. When we all see Jesus, we'll sing and shout the victory. Onward to the prize before us, soon His beauty will behold. Soon the pearly gates will open, we shall tread the streets of gold. When we all get to heaven, what a day of rejoicing that will be. When we all see Jesus, we'll sing and shout the victory. When we all get to heaven, what a day of rejoicing that will be. When we all see Jesus, we'll sing and shout the victory. When we all see Jesus, we'll sing and shout the victory.
Thank you so much for being with us this week. Just always a joy to get together and sing with you on Friday nights. It's always interesting to see what parts of the world we get into each week. Just unbelievable how this internet works. But before we go, let me remind you about our website, www.birdyeomans.com. Our CDs are there. The songbook is there. And just so to clarify things, the songbook does not have written out music. It only has the words and the chords. But if you play guitar or if you know chords on a piano, you can easily follow along. The chords are in the key that I sing it in. And if you have any questions, my wife Linda will be glad to help you. Her email address is linda@birdyeomans.com. Be kind to each other this week. I love you. I'll see you next Friday night.
There's a long black train coming down the line, beating off the souls that are lost and crying. Rails of sin, only evil remains. Watch out, brother, for that long black train. Look to the heavens, you can look to the sky. You can find redemption staring back into your eyes. There is protection and there's peace the same. Burn in your ticket for that long black train. 'Cause there's victory in the Lord, I say. Victory in the Lord. Cling to the Father and His holy name, and don't go riding on that long black train. There's an engineer on that long black train, making you wonder if the ride is worth the pain. He's just waiting on your heart to say, let me ride on that long black train. 'Cause there's victory in the Lord, I say. Victory in the Lord. Cling to the Father and His holy name, and don't go riding on that long black train. Well, I can hear the whistle from a mile away. It sounds so good, but I must stay away. That train is a beauty, making everybody stare. Its only destination is the middle of nowhere. 'Cause there's victory in the Lord, I say. Victory in the Lord. Cling to the Father and His holy name, and don't go riding on that long black train. I said cling to the Father and His holy name, and don't go riding on that long black train. Yeah, watch out, brother, for that long black train. That devil's a driving